By the end of today's episode, you'll know all about the importance of something called rituals. Okay? I know it sounds a little bit weird, but I'll go into it. All right? How you can use these rituals to feel way less stressed and grow your acting career a lot faster. Welcome to the Actor's Career Compass, where we help aspiring screen actors find high-quality auditions, sign with great agents, and book major roles in legit productions. I'm your host, Martin Benson, and today we're going to be covering this weird idea of rituals. And trust me, I know the word ritual kind of has some weird connotations to it, but it's kind of like habits, all right? So some of the things I'm going to be talking about include how to design a simple, rewarding nighttime ritual that lines up with your career goals, how taking control of your space and deliberately creating a nighttime ritual can do wonders for relaxation and decreasing stress levels, which will lead to a lot more productivity during the daytime, and also some specific tips on how you can create your own nightly ritual. So, as you are probably aware by now, being an actor is pretty crazy. A lot of people will compare acting to being a business owner, right? Business owners face unpredictability. They don't always know how to get more clients. No one tells them what to do, so they have to figure it all out themselves. And they have to deal with the stress of making ends meet. But as an actor, you face all of that, plus the challenges of short-term projects where most of your things just end after a few weeks. You're also oftentimes paid less than freelancers or business owners. And you constantly have to travel for auditions and bookings or both, right? So this is why I believe that it's so important to have a way to de-stress every day. At the end of a long day, you want to be able to wind down and relax so that you can prepare for what's coming tomorrow. A good nightly routine or ritual is going to allow you to give your best every single day. So, funny story about me, right? This happened somewhat recently, but I noticed something about my wife. Okay, so whenever she gets home from work, she almost immediately goes into the bedroom and comes out a few minutes later wearing like sweatshirt and sweatpants. Like she just looks so comfortable and relaxed. And I always stay in my work clothes until like 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. And I never even thought about it, but I just noticed her coming out one day and I'm like, why am I still wearing my work clothes until so late? I wake up at 5 most days, and then I get dressed around 7, and I'm wearing that until 9 o'clock. Why am I wearing like all this uncomfortable stuff? And I'd never thought about it before. It's just the way I'd always been, probably since I was in my early 20s. I don't even know. But I just remember watching my wife relax on the couch, reading a book in such a comfortable outfit. And I suddenly was like, why don't I create my own nighttime ritual like that? Something that would help me feel a lot more relaxed and basically give me a renewed energy and excitement to tackle the next day. So here's what I came up with, right? So right around 6 p.m., unless I have something else planned, usually I don't, especially on weeknights, I will just get into my pajamas, right? I just slip into something very relaxed, comfortable, put slippers on, whatever. Right after dinner, I change, and then I'm making myself a cup of peppermint tea or some other tea, but I like peppermint for some reason. And then just sitting down on the couch in our den. We have a fireplace in there and we don't have a television. I turn on the fireplace and I'll turn on some good music that I really enjoy. This was what I came up with. Very simple, just the idea of being super relaxed for the evening. And so to make sure that I wouldn't forget to start doing this ritual and eventually turn it into a habit, I set a daily reminder on my phone that goes off every day at 6 p.m. And after a couple weeks, the ritual wound up becoming a habit, and now I don't actually need the reminder anymore. And I look forward to this time every single night. Okay, so the point here is that you can create your own ritual to help you de-stress. It's really important to actually think about this and take actual control over it, right? So if every night you get home and you just go in and make yourself some food or whatever and start sitting down and doing work, ask yourself, wait a second, can I make this into something that I actually enjoy that helps me de-stress, and take deliberate control over it? Don't just do the same thing you've always done. So for instance, do you love turning on some good music? Or do you enjoy working out, but you have a hard time getting the time to do it, right? Do you appreciate a great cup of coffee or tea? In my case, I can't drink coffee at night because the caffeine will keep me up. But if you can and you enjoy coffee, maybe that's your thing. So even if the things that you love seem unhealthy, like drinking alcohol, let's say, or eating desserts, I still feel like you should be able to include them as long as they're not overdone, right? So for example, I actually enjoy alcohol. In particular, I like scotch. And so instead of having a full scotch every night, I limit myself to like a quarter of a shot glass, just a really small amount. And I sip it super slowly so that I can have the flavor, but I'm not having to deal with the consequences of the alcohol. You could do the same thing with dessert. If you want to build a delicious dessert, like another thing I enjoy is dark chocolate, right? I have this crazy 88% dark chocolate that I love, and I'll break just like three of these small little squares off of it, and I'll eat that in the evening. And it's just a delicious thing to enjoy. And because I know how much I'm limited to, and I don't sit there with the whole bar of chocolate and try to stop myself, I just break the pieces off and then I go sit in the other room and put the chocolate away. I can't really easily overeat it, and I eat it more slowly and enjoy it just as much, but I'm not getting as much of the bad thing, so to speak, right? So when you're putting together this ritual for yourself, I want you to ask yourself a few questions, right? So obviously, what do I want to do? How do I want to do this? Okay, like what would make it really enjoyable for me? How long do I want to spend doing this? So for me, if my ritual is sitting down and drinking peppermint tea and relaxing for a little bit, maybe watching something on my iPad, I'll maybe spend about 20 minutes doing that. And so it's kind of like my little way to de-stress. And then later on in the evening, once my son is asleep and we're just kind of relaxing, then I might drink scotch or do something else for myself, right? So in addition to how long, you also want to ask yourself, where do you want to do it? Is there a particular room or space that makes you feel very relaxed? And then obviously you need to set a reminder to make sure that you're consistent with it, and don't be afraid to adjust as you go. Okay, so after a few days of doing it, you might realize that there's certain parts that you don't enjoy. Change those things until the routine feels really good. Once you've created a nightly ritual, it's going to be interesting because you're going to actually realize that you have the ability to make other areas of your life more enjoyable too. So think about some of the things that you don't like doing. How could you make them better? Even tiny little changes can actually have a pretty big impact. So for example, I used to hate, my dog's leash was always on the floor in our closet, or I would put it up on the shelf, but then it would kind of get caught in between the little metal things and I'd have to like try to pull it out of there. And I used to hate picking up my dog's leash from the closet floor every single day, multiple times a day. So one day, just like, how can I make this more enjoyable for myself? So I just hammered a tiny little nail into the wall in the closet, and now I hang the leash on it. That simple change made the process so much more easy and more enjoyable, right? You can apply this same principle to your acting career. For instance, preparing for auditions, right? How can you make that process smoother and more enjoyable? What could you do to make preparing and memorizing your lines more fun if you don't enjoy it currently? Can you add music to it? Can you do it in a space where you actually enjoy? Can you make the room more comfortable for yourself by getting a chair that's fuzzy? I don't know. I mean, my sister loves sitting. She has like these fuzzy slippers and different fuzzy things, right? And that for her helps her relax. And then she loves sitting in there and she can do her work from that chair, right? Another thing is like submitting self-tapes. So how could you streamline your setup or make the process feel less stressful? In a few episodes from now, I'm actually going to be talking a bit about how to get your self-tape in more quickly and in better quality. So maybe you'll learn something there about this, but the real question, I don't talk specifically about how to make it more enjoyable because I don't know whether you like or dislike it. That's something that only you can figure out. So how can you make that process more enjoyable? The more that you enjoy the things you do, the more that you're likely to follow through with them. I'll give you just one other example. Like I have to put out the recycling in our house every 2 weeks. I don't like cutting all the cardboard and folding it up and everything. So I was like, how can I make this process more enjoyable? Well, first off, it's freezing in my garage. So I put a heater over right near where I have to do that. Next, I don't like that it's just boring. So I decide to bring my iPad in there and I'll watch videos on YouTube while I'm doing it. Or I might just listen to really good music while I'm doing it. Or in some cases, I might even batch do it. So I'll just skip a week or skip one time and put out the recycling every other time unless we have way too many boxes that it's not fitting. And then this way I don't have to do it as often and I can sort of batch it together. So there's plenty of ways to make the things that you do more enjoyable. And the more that you enjoy these things that need to get done, the more consistently and effectively you'll do them. And of course, the less stress that you'll have and everything else sort of becomes a lot smoother. The nightly ritual that I talked about in this episode is just the beginning. By actively approving your approach to just general things in day-to-day life and in your acting career, you're not only going to feel better, but you're also going to perform better as an actor. Okay? You're going to be less stressed, so you're going to do better in auditions. You're going to be less stressed, so you're going to have more energy to submit yourself more consistently. So I want you to take a moment and think about it. What are some small annoyances or things that just bug you in your life? And how can you make those things smoother and more enjoyable? Once you start making those changes, you'll see how even the smallest adjustments can have a pretty big impact on your happiness and success over time. And then you're going to start looking for more ways to make things better and better. So eventually one day, your life is just going to be awesome. You're going to be happy with every step of the day. I mean, just to give you a sense of it, I look forward to most parts of my day and for different reasons. In the morning, my ritual, I'm a weirdo. I wake up at like 4:15, 4:30 in the morning. Sometimes I sleep into like 5 or 5:30 on weekends, right? If it's midsummer and my wife is off from work or something and we've been on a vacation, I might sleep into 6. But I'm like a weirdo. I never really sleep in, but I look forward to it because when I wake up in the morning, it's actually kind of nice. It's like no one else is awake. And so I have some delicious coffee that I make, and I make my own bread. So I dip my bread in in honey usually, or sometimes in Nutella, and I just sit at the kitchen table and watch some stuff maybe on my iPad, and then I look forward to working out, which is my next thing. And then after that's done, I look forward to my work day, right? Because I've set up a space where I can meet with people and it's comfortable, and I've kind of built in a life that I enjoy, a workspace, all of that. And then after work is done, or as the day comes towards the end, I'm very much looking forward to that new nightly ritual that I made, right? Where I get comfortable and have something delicious for dinner and get to spend time with my family. And it's just very relaxing now. Usually in the past, I would just like stay uncomfortable the whole time in my work clothes, and I just never even really thought about it. But now, like each of the steps, and then again, after my son is asleep, I look forward to relaxing a little bit more at the end of the evening. Sometimes I might do some drawing with colored pencils that I have, or I'm getting into like painting and stuff. And I just have these fun things that I kind of do. And each part of my day is something that I look forward to because I've deliberately spent time to ask myself, how can I make this part of my day more enjoyable? The more you do that, the less stress that you have, and the more easily you're able to continuously be consistent with the things that are most important. All right, well, thanks for listening. Hopefully today's episode was helpful. Now, if you want to dive deeper on taking care of your health, I actually recommend checking out my podcast called Start Booking Superhero Acting Auditions by Improving Your Physique Naturally, which is episode number 77. You're going to learn all about what it takes to get into great shape and have more energy than you've ever had. Okay, so check it out. Again, it's episode number 77, Start Booking Superhero Auditions by Improving Your Physique Naturally. It's on the Actor's Career Compass. Finally, if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, you can learn more about that and how it works on my website at martinbenson.com. You can sign up for the wait list there, and you'll get some of my top tips to book more acting work. Coaching spots usually open up every few months, and I'll keep you up to date. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.